Hey there, cats and kitties. I'm the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, we discuss my thoughts on episode 1 of the anime series, Fune wo Amu, or The Great Passage. And I love, from right off the bat, the look and the vibe and the characters of this series. It was a series I was highly anticipating. The only minor gripe I can really, put forth after watching the first episode is some of the editing choices were a little bit interesting, I guess, for lack of a better term, when they start doing this sort of Ang Lee Hulk comic book thing where they have like the inset image as, the one character is walking around looking for a successor and all this kind of stuff. I didn't really like that all that much, but everything else about this first episode really just, comes across as heartwarming and intriguing. It is a story about words and what they mean and how we interpret them. And the main character, Majime, he very much speaks to my own interest in words as an aspiring writer. And their importance, the idea of literacy and really being able to communicate as well as you can your thoughts and emotions using words, knowing the myriad and multiple sometimes, meanings behind words and how they can be applied. And there's a certain aesthetic to this series that, as far as the look and the vibe and the feel, that kind of conforms to Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju, which I covered, where it's somewhat methodical. It takes its time. It's letting you get used to the environment and used to the characters. And as I say, it's very much about finding a successor in the creation of a dictionary, The Great Passage. The cat Araki, who is sort of the old hat, we find out that he and a partner, Matsumoto, they are in the works to put a dictionary together. And all dictionaries are not alike, It's one of those things where, depending on the author, depending on the focus of the words and the dialects of the time, dictionaries can very much reflect their place in history when they were created, but you constantly have to update those things, for better or worse. I mean, you have text speak and internet jargon being added to Webster's every single day, and it's a very intriguing prospect of where language evolves as humanity evolves. And that's kind of the subject, the viewpoint that is under, that sort of microscopic viewfinder, if you will. In the course of this episode, do we see that Araki, because of his wife falling ill and not improving health-wise, he's got to let this go. He feels very down about that, but he's determined to find someone, anyone, that can take over for him, that has a passion for dialogue, that has a passion for the words and their meanings, and someone who can be speculative and somewhat, passionate about the words and what they mean, but who is also, not sort of hindered by locking himself down to one or two meanings, being able to be open-minded with how exactly he'll interpret describing what a word means, what a sensation means. And it's very intriguing because it's somewhat contrasted in Majime, who is the character they have effectively land by the end. Araki ends up doing this with the help of Nishioka, who is Blondie. I'm calling him Blondie for the time being. He's kind of, I don't want to say outspoken, because he doesn't seem to be just going up and talking to people at random, but he seems much more befitting of his employment placement in this particular publishing company. And he actually, he's the first one to encounter Majime, who is a very poor salesman. This is not the job cut out for him. He's someone who much more has a particular, way of handling words and considering all those things. But the contrast that enters the fray that's intriguing to me is Majime is somewhat, I don't want to call him socially inept, but he is socially repressed to the point where there is a level of his being reserved and being fearful, in that, the whole way he equates it, the ocean of words, and trying to swim through its vastness and really come to understanding how to put into words things he's thinking and feeling and really making the best version of himself possible. It's very much like anyone who has ever, been nervous about public speaking. There are people, and I'm very much like this myself, who feel they can write what they want to say much better than they actually can do it speaking off the top of their head. And for me, somebody who's been making, YouTube videos for a very long time, there's a level of equilibrium that takes effect that over time you start to become more comfortable with speaking. You become more comfortable with accessing on the fly the words that are in your brain, in your memory, in your understanding. And so it's kind of like we're meeting Majime at the very precipice of that point in his life where he's going to have to take the flying leap off the edge and really try to let himself evolve and try to become a better version of himself, finding a way to put those words and those thoughts and those aspects into a vocal dialogue, trying to, basically bridge that gap that he feels exists between him and every other living person. I mean, he's very apologetic to Nishioka when he's, schooling him. You're a very bad salesman. You're not well representing our interests when you're going in with an opposite, going into a store with an opposite vendor's, bag and everything like that. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look respectful. They're not going to take you seriously. They just want to get rid of you. They know you're not really taking it seriously yourself. And it's just the poor showing of Majime's current employment placement. This is not where he's meant to be. And I love that Araki, every time he encounters a sort of phrasing or a certain idea, concept, he's writing it down to really, add to his own perspective on the world and his perspective on words and dialogue. And it's very much, they seem cut from the same cloth, Araki and Majime. So I'm very intrigued to see where this is going to go. I'm very intrigued to be along this journey with Majime, to see him hopefully become a blossoming flower, be able to evolve himself by the end of the story in this seeking and searching and constructing and perfecting words and language and all that kind of stuff, coming at it from myriad and multiple, as I say. The difference being, the interpretive aspect of those words, myriad, many, voluminous, but multiple from different directions, different sides, all walks of life. Majime is going to have to consider all of these things in creating this dictionary, The Great Passage. It'll be a great journey. And there's also like a female character that we see paired up with Majime in, sort of the opening of the episode. It makes me wonder if this is going to be a romantic interest or not, if it's going to be one of those things where he's very much a wallflower and he'll have to open himself and evolve himself to become closer to someone he might have a romantic interest in. And the sort of, you already get the sense, the sort of buddy thing that's going to potentially happen between Majime and Nishioka, as I say. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking more of this series out. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below if you've seen episode 1 of Fune wo Amu, or The Great Passage, if you enjoyed it as well, if you're as excited as I was for this oncoming series to finally begin, and or love it or hate it, anything goes in the comments below. Just let me know what your thoughts are, and otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.